So, folks, I don't really know how to say this other than bluntly. It really looks like Donald Trump and the people around him want to invade Mexico. And I'm saying this because there was an article that was published today in Rolling Stone titled Trump team debates how much should we invade Mexico? Not whether or not we should invade Mexico, not, hey, that would be a really bad idea if we invaded Mexico, but how much should we invade Mexico? And that seems bad. In Trump's government in waiting, the only question is how massive the U.S. assault on Mexican drug cartels should be. And I need to really emphasize here that if the United States unilaterally, dispatched troops or special ops teams to Mexico, that would be an invasion of Mexico. That would be an act of war. Putting troops into Mexico without the government's permission would be an act of war. That would be an invasion. That would be a provocation to military conflict. Just in case there are some people who don't get it, if Mexico sent kill squads into the United States to take out private citizens in the US, the United States would retaliate because we would perceive that as an invasion. That would not be in any universe acceptable to Americans. But here we are. Right? Oh, come on. You're making me we're doing it fine. Just gonna open it in an incognito tab. Boom. Nailed it. With Donald Trump's government in waiting, there is a fresh debate over whether and how thoroughly the president-elect should follow through on his campaign promise to attack or even invade Mexico as part of the war he's pledged to wage against powerful drug cartels. Boy, if you voted for this guy because he was the anti-war candidate, do you look silly? Do you look silly? How's that panning out? How much should we invade Mexico? Says a senior Trump transition member. That's the question. This is something someone said on the record. Someone said this to a reporter. Someone high in the Trump transition team. It's a question that would have seemed batty for the GOP elite to consider before, even during Trump's first term, which I need to remind you all, we heard rumblings that they wanted to bomb or invade Mexico during his first term. Yeah, this isn't even about like a country on the other side of the
planet.
Not
Donald Trump making side with the cartel.
This is literally one of our closest trade allies and partners. Mexico is integral to the economic well-being of America. And I cannot stress enough how disastrous starting a war with Mexico would be. And the thing is, you might say, well, maybe Mexico wouldn't retaliate or anything like that. Maybe Mexico would just be chill with it. And I need to really emphasize this. If Mexico really wanted to, they have the capability of making nuclear weapons. They swore off doing it in the 1960s, but they have the ability to refine the uranium and manufacture nuclear weapons. If the United States invaded Mexico, just to any degree, and we wound up having a hot war with Mexico, that's something to consider. Additionally, the current president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, has pledged to retaliate against tariffs passed that would harm Mexico trade with the U.S. I have no reason to doubt that she would also retaliate in kind if the United States were to invade Mexico. So, yeah, it's a bad idea all around. All around. But let's take a look. In the 4 years since, many within the mainstream Republican centers of power have come around to support Trump's idea to bomb or attack Mexico. So this is an important part of this story. This is no longer like fringe wackadoos in the Republican Party saying we should bomb Mexico. This is the mainstream Republican Party. Mainstream Republicans. Like, we can't really make this distinction anymore between like the MAGA wing of the Republican Party. Like they won. They are the Republican Party. The Republican Party wants to go to war with Mexico. Okay? I know some people still try and differentiate the two, but like this election is the end of the never Trump Republicans. There are no never Trump Republicans anymore. Trump's cabinet picks, including his choices for Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State, have publicly supported the idea of potentially unleashing the U.S. military in Mexico. So is the man Trump has tapped to be his national security advisor. So is the man Trump has selected as his border czar to lead his immigration crackdowns. So has various Trump allies in Congress and in the media.
If Trump goes to war with Mexico, I'm siding with the cartels.
Yeah, I guess critical support. Trump has routinely and falsely promoted himself as the candidate who would stop endless wars, now wants to lead a new conflict just south of our nation's border, but at this moment, it is, in the words of one Trump advisor, unclear how far he'll go on this one. If things don't change, the president still believes it's necessary to take some kind of military action against these killers. This would be unprecedented. Like, we would be in some really weird territory. Okay? Like, just taking the fact that Mexico can make nuclear weapons off the table, taking the economic impact off the table, etc. Just really want to emphasize that this could really get bad in a lot of ways. Let me just pull this up. Let's see here. Oh my god, why? Why is it so difficult to figure this out? Does Mexico not have any defensive treaties? That's interesting. I could have sworn Mexico was part of NATO, but I guess they are not a member of NATO. Weird. But anyway, Mexico is one of those countries that has good relations with pretty much everyone. There's really nothing you could do to ruin the United States' reputation more on the international stage than to bomb Mexico. It really, really would pretty much destroy every kind of relationship the US has with other nations. There'd be
They
no
don't
coming
allow
back from
black
it.
and brown nations into NATO.
Well, I don't think that's true. Let me just take a look. Oh. Yeah, there was a push in 2020 to get Mexico to join NATO, it seems, but they did not, in fact, join, largely because that push happened in 2020, and well, a lot of faith was lost in the United States after Donald Trump. Another source close to Trump describes to Rolling Stone what they call a soft invasion of Mexico, in which American special forces, not a large theater deployment, would be sent covertly to assassinate cartel leaders. Indeed, this is a preliminary plan that Trump himself is warmed to in private conversations this year. Good golly. For this story, Rolling Stone spoke with 6 Republicans who have each talked to the twice impeached former and now future president about this topic. Some of these sources have briefed Trump on the policy ideas in recent weeks. These proposals, of varying degrees of violent severity, include drone strikes or airstrikes on cartel infrastructure or drug labs, sending in military trainers and advisors to Mexico, deploying kill teams on Mexican soil, waging cyber warfare against drug lords and their networks, and having American special forces conduct a series of raids and abductions of notorious cartel figures. In some of these private conversations, including during his presidential transition period, Trump has told confidants and some GOP lawmakers that he plans to tell the Mexican government that they need to stem the flow of fentanyl to America somehow in the span of several months, or else he'll send in the U.S. military. Yeah, as Rolling Stone has reported, since at least last year, Trump has solicited specific battle plans and different military options for, quote, attacking Mexico. Like, keep in mind here, what they're talking about is not like if you send in the US military onto Mexican soil, that is not a small incursion. That is not a special operation. You are just invading the country. And oh yeah, you'll say that you're bombing drug cartel infrastructure, but you might hit not drug cartel infrastructure. A lot of drug cartel infrastructure is in densely populated cities. Even if you do drone strikes, even if you do the most targeted strikes you can, you are going to be killing Mexican civilians. And if you are soliciting plans to attack Mexico, let's not pretend that they're just going to attack drug cartel infrastructure. God. Senator Marco Rubio, whom Florida chose to serve as Secretary of State.
So he wants
Trump
to do
has
clear and
chosen.
present danger. We need to make sure to tell him Willem Dafoe isn't actually an operator or he's going to be sent to Tijuana.
Quiet Kitsune, thank you for the $5 dono. has Marco Rubio has endorsed the idea of sending U.S. troops to Mexico to combat drug cartels under the condition that there is cooperation from the Mexican government, and that such operations are done in coordination with the armed forces and the Mexican police force. This is an important caveat, actually. If Donald Trump does not get the cooperation of the Mexican government, then we are looking at an invasion of Mexico. God. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. We live in the dumbest timeline. Pete Hegseth said last year that it could be in the national interest to deploy the military against Mexican drug cartels, which he referred to as terrorist-like organizations poisoning our population. I really don't know that the American military would go along with that. I don't think so either, except that we also know that Pete Hegseth, in Trump's ideal world, would be purging the military of people who would disagree with doing this plan. So, I mean, we'll see how much traction that gets, but yeah. If it takes military action, that's what it may take eventually, said Hegseth. Obviously, you're going to have to be smart about it. Obviously, the precision strikes. But if you put the fear in the minds of the drug lords, at least as a start, and they can't operate in the open with impunity, it changes the way they operate. You combine that with actual border security, now you're cooking with gas and you've got a chance. No, you're literally not cooking with gas, because most of the people trafficking the drugs across the border are American citizens, not Mexican cartel members. Oh my god. The reporting on this is wild. I wouldn't necessarily, like, this at least, I wouldn't necessarily hate. Representative Mike Waltz last year co-introduced legislation to create an authorization for use of military force to target Mexican drug cartels, asserting it would give the president sophisticated military cyber intelligence and surveillance resources to disrupt cartel operations that are endangering Americans. I don't, on paper, have anything against the U.S. military using cyber warfare to bring down cartel operations. I think that'd be fine. But I somehow get the impression that that is not what Donald Trump wants to do. Yeah, Lindsey Graham wants to target the cartels. Kristi Noem talks about the border as a war zone. Yeah, the 50 states have a common enemy. The enemy is the Mexican drug cartels that are waging war against our nation. And the cartels are perpetuating violence in each of our states, even here in South Dakota. And it's just like, they are so horny for a war, they're willing to attack our ally for it. It's really crazy. I do want to know, I have not seen what Claudia Scheinbaum's response is. Okay. So basically, Mexico's president is currently saying there are no plans to close the border and that tariffs are not acceptable. And that she will pass retaliatory tariffs if the U.S. Passes theirs. I get the feeling that she would not be very receptive to the United States marching an army into her country. And honestly, I totally get where she's coming from on that one. Yeah, no, I don't think that she has responded publicly to the indication that they want to bomb Mexico. Cool. Cool. How big are Mexico's armed forces? Good question. Okay. Oh my god. Let's see. Ah, yes, they have a standing military size of 411,000, 412,000 troops, with another 100,000 in reserve. So, in a pinch, they could field an army of about a 500,000. And I'm going to guess, just out of curiosity, let's see. And they also have a newly formed National Guard that adds an additional 133,000 personnel. And they have, technology comparable to ours. So, it would not be a good idea to engage in a hot war with Mexico. Didn't she also say if the U.S. deports? I haven't seen that story, Nindrine. Yeah, I mean, I think it's totally rational for her to basically say if you pass tariffs on us, we're going to pass tariffs on you. What types of equipment and weaponry? I mean, they basically have parity with us because again, they manufacture a lot of the stuff that we use. you know? Yeah, I mean, like Mexico is again one of those places that was basically built as a fortress by the hand of God himself, like nature is like it's a natural fortress. Don't tell me he's trying to be the new Netanyahu. Well, Samira's Web, I was kind of getting at that earlier. It kind of what it seems like Trump wants is essentially like a drone war where they continually say essentially we're hitting Mexican drug cartels. Look at us go. Even if like the bombs, destroy a school, they're just going to be like it was a Mexican cartel school. I get the feeling that they're going to copy Netanyahu's playbook. The Trump administration is a huge fan of Netanyahu's work, and I could see them pulling from that if they were to engage in a bombing campaign of Mexico. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like very knifey duck, like unironically, we could get like a statement like there were cartel tunnels underneath that preschool. I still do not think Trump legitimately won. I have not really seen any compelling evidence that Trump didn't legitimately win. And frankly, I believe it. Kamala Harris's messaging was pretty goddamn weak. And the Democrats lost the working class for like the first time in modern history, and it's largely attributable to the fact that she backed off of populist working class policy. Stop talking about it. There are a lot of other factors, but I think that's the main one. People like guys, if she had kept on with the economic messaging, people would not be furiously Googling what's a tariff immediately after Trump got elected. Okay, they had no idea. All they heard was taxes go down, China pay. That's it. And they didn't have any other kind of narrative to run with from Kamala Harris. Good night, sweetness. Well, yeah, especially like when you have no competing economic narrative other than You're doing great. Shut up. You know? Oh, you found the article. Mexico ready to receive deported Mexicans from U.S. if necessary. Mexico has a plan to receive deported Mexicans from the U.S. if President-elect Donald Trump launches mass deportations of immigrants living in the U.S. Let's see. Mexico is also preparing to show the Trump administration that mass deportations were unnecessary, emphasizing the importance of Mexicans in the U.S., including the value of taxes they pay. Quote, we will receive Mexicans and we have a plan for it, but before that, we will work to demonstrate that they do not have to deport our compatriots who are on the other side of the border. On the contrary, they even benefit the economy of the United States, which is true. She's not wrong. It's just that U.S. media never talks about it because it's manufacturing consent for these mass deportations. Let's see. Yeah. What, like, honestly, President Scheinbaum is such a class act. That's a goddamn leader right there. Necosaurus, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome, raiders. My name's Riverboat Jack. I'm a socialist, and I talk about the news and politics. And we just finished talking about one of the dumbest news stories of the year, of the century. Ugh, god damn it.